In the preceding movies, we have looked at working with static morphs created for the characters that ship with the characters, and we've also looked at creating your own morph tiles. In this movie, we'll take a look at how to do more significant, or at least a different kind of changing of geometry. Besides just using the push and pull tools, we'll be working with a magnet. Now, magnets are kind of an interesting little creature to use. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to select this character's right collar here and just zoom into it by clicking on the little object here at the top for zoom into selected. Now, one thing about magnets, you can drop them into a scene. They don't have to be inserted the way I'm going to show you. They can be inserted when you've got the primary body selected on a character, but they're always associated with the character. I like to select the body part I want them to affect and then bring in the magnet by going Object, Create Magnet. And it zooms it into the very base part of the object itself. So we can see in the collar area here, well, we've got the magnet selected. The magnet bar, which is highlighted right now, zooms into the very bottom of the shape. If you bring in the magnet with a character, it goes all the way to the floor at their feet, and then you can position it around the scene. Now, the magnet has three parts. The bar, which is the origin of the effect. You see a little plus sign in the middle of it right over here? This is where all the deformations originate from. The significance of the deformations is controlled by how far the magnet is from the bar. So if I grab the Y here and you see the magnet came in at an angle, well, it comes in based on the local geometry, not the world geometry, so they can point different directions. But if I drag the magnet on the Y-axis, we see something like that going on. I'll undo that. The third part of the magnet happens to be the zone. And let me get this white circle. That is the area of influence that this deformation has. Now, every one of these is scalable by itself. You can scale this area right here of the magnet zone. If we happen to choose the bar and we scale that generically like that, it scales the magnet too, which is good. So if you want to scale both those at the same time, fine. If you want to leave the bar in the same place and then scale the magnet on top of it, you can do that independently. So let's go ahead and get this in action. I just saw you how to create effects. Well, really what you want to do is fine-tune effects. You can scale the bar, you can scale the magnet, and do really subtle things to like chin protrusions, noses. In this case, let's go ahead and make our robot look a little bit more like a football linebacker by giving some larger shoulders. Now, I don't want to just kind of generically, let me go ahead and select the magnet itself. I really don't want to just try to make it bigger like this. That's not going to do anything for me. What I'd like to do is control this effect to the top part right here of the geometry, and the way to do that is using weight maps. So here's the way we do that. I will select with the magnet highlighted right here. I'll come to Properties, and it's going to ask us what object do we want to deform. Now, if you bring in the magnet at the body level, you can select multiple things. Right now, all I'm looking for is just the right color. It's aligned with that. Everything is happy that way, and choose OK. The next thing I want to do is come right here and select the zone. Magnets always come in as props, and you can change the name to make it more meaningful, like right shoulder magnet or something like that, right shoulder magnet zone, whatever works for you. I'm going to leave it basic like this. But with the zone selected, we see we have different properties to work with now. And one of them that we'll want to explore is the Use Weight Map. You can edit the fall off if you want some unique effects like ripples or something like that. Let me open this for you. It popped up off my screen. But you can change this curve by clicking and bending it and doing these type of things and getting a sine wave pattern if you wanted. That could be your ripples. So they have plenty of uses. But let's get back to this weight map area. When we enable that, we see we've got a little artist's palette that highlights, and I'll click on that, and we get our painting palette showing up. The green dots are 100% active, and they will be totally influenced by the magnet. If we want to reduce that, we can simply come to Subtract and paint some of these out, or we can come with Set All and set all to 0. They only have a value of 0 to 1, and the incremental distances in between, so 0.2, 0.3, that type of thing. Just like the radius does and the magnitude on the dial, that type of thing. So I just set them all to 0. My vertex weights now has been set to add. So with this brush selected right here, when I move it over the scene, I can see what's going on. If I want to change this to a different display pattern so I can see a little bit more what's going on, that's fine. So what I'm going to do is highlight just this area right here by the shoulder and collar. Let me rotate to the back here. and get all this. You can use the smooth tool as well to kind of ease any transitions if you have abrupt color changes or something like that. But with that complete now, let me go ahead and move my vertex weight palette over a little bit. If I come back to the parameters dial here and we choose prop magnet 1, if I go ahead and move this on the Y translation, we'll see now we get a much more subtle effect going on. So we can go ahead and do just a whole host of things with magnets like this. It's also possible too, if I come back to the magnet zone and properties and weight map, we can also copy these zone weight informations and paste them onto the other side by placing another magnet over there, mirroring these same settings as this magnet with obviously a positive X value instead of a YX value. So any work you do on one side, you can send over to the other relatively easy, but you can get some great effects using magnets to create static deformers that you then would export into a single frame export to Unity so you could use it with your characters there.